let's talk a bit about some additional mental practices because I think if we can
Mhm.
give families a little bit of a tool bag that they can go home with. I know you love the breath, but
Yeah,
let's talk about things that may come up for us that push us into a place where we probably feel frustration or anger.
sure. Oh, yeah.
Are there mental practices that we can use again to develop that sense of safety or that quick back to equilibrium?
You bet. So, and I want to say first thing, for some people, especially if they have a trauma history, focusing on the body or the breath could be scary and hard. So it's very important to always adapt any suggestion to what's good for you. Find what's good for you. All right. So let's walk through. Something happens and it's frustrating, it makes you angry, someone mistreated you, you're disappointed, something has happened. This is what I do, and it's like my first aid kit. First, notice you're upset. I use the word upset in a very broad sense. Notice that you're stressed, you're irritated, you're pissed off, something has happened. Notice it right there. And if you can, be mindful of it. Step back from it a little bit, be aware of it, uh, claim 1% of yourself that is a calm, centered, stable witness of what's happening, even if 99% of yourself is your blood is boiling,
Yeah.
smoke's coming out of your okay? But that right there, that's one. Be mindful of what you're feeling. Right there is like a circuit breaker inside your brain, and it gives you some sense of distance and space. Second, have compassion for yourself. A moment of feeling, ouch, this hurts, just like you would with a friend. You feel the pain, and there's a natural warmth for yourself. You're like, oh, let yourself have that. It doesn't mean wallowing in self-pity. It's usually just a few seconds, maybe a little more, but just some sense of benevolence toward yourself, warmth toward yourself. Third, get on your own side. That muscular sense of, wait a minute here, you know, and actually, it may seem so obvious, like, whoa, everybody's on their own side. No, my experience is most people are for others. They're good, but they're not for themselves particularly. They're not an ally to themselves. And so this is the more muscular aspect where you're like, I don't, I want to figure this out. I want to make something better happen. I'm knocked down, but I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna figure stuff out, right? There's that primal sense of moxie,
Yeah.
coping, grit. All right. And so far at this point, maybe 5 seconds have gone by, maybe 50 seconds, but it's pretty quick. And then make a plan. What are you going to do? Coping binds anxiety. Coping clears anger. If you feel helpless and outraged, you're screwed. Sorry about that term, but you're in trouble. You know what I mean? And maybe that's where we start. Initially, we're often shocked, right? What are we going to do? But make a plan. Now the plan may be there's nothing I could do about this. I just have to accept it. I can't change it. I have to look at what else is also true in my life, but I can't do anything. It's not worth it. I'm not going to succeed here. It's not safe. I'm outnumbered. This is not the time. Sometimes that's true. Other times you make a plan and you think to yourself, I'm going to learn more here. I'm going to study this a little bit because I might lose a battle, but I'm going to win this war. Make a plan. Or you might think to yourself, honestly, there's a Maya Angelou, a writer, she has a lovely saying, to paraphrase it, when people show you who they are the first time, believe them.
Mhm.
Maybe me, I'm a little slow. I like the first time they do it, I'm like,
Hi.
really? Really?
I'll give you
The
another
second,
chance.
the second time they do it, I'm like, I'm starting to smell a pattern here. The third time they do it, I'm like, whoa, guilty as charged. Three strikes, American baseball metaphor. You're out. You know what I mean? Okay. So, and then you think to yourself, maybe that's your plan. Maybe you realize, there's no cheese down that tunnel. That dog is not going to hunt. Don't send a duck to Eagle School. That guy is never going to love you properly, let's say, or that teacher's never really going to understand. And then you think, okay, I'm going to put my effort over here. I cannot grow roses in a parking lot. I cannot grow corn in the desert. I need to find more fertile ground. Maybe that's your plan, but make a plan. So those things I think are really important. So the way I summarize this, the things that I've just said, deal with the bad. We must cope. We must be strong where we have to deal with things. And also, second, turn to the good.
Mm.
After you do those quick things that I've said, what else is also true? What is the good that is also true? The people who are actually good people, or the goodness in your own heart, or the things that are still working. Even if the bus is late or something bad has happened, meanwhile, the sun is shining, flowers are blooming, coffee tastes good. Your mind is still working, you're still breathing, ain't dead yet. There's hope, you know. And then third, after, deal with the bad, turn to the good, take in the good.
Mm.
Slow it down to learn the good, to cultivate the good inside yourself, to grow the good inside yourself for your own sake. And also because as you grow muscles inside, you're more able to help other people. To me, that summarizes a lot.
You know what I love about that, Rick? I think by the time you get to make a plan, because you've taken, even though it could be seconds,
Yep,
to recognize, to give compassion, to turn the compassion in, and then kind of look for the good in there. By the time you get to that plan, you're in a different mental state to
that's
begin it.
correct. Yeah. And with
And
practice, it gets faster and faster and faster.
exactly,
And
exactly.
the bigger the challenge, the more time it takes to move through the steps. But again, with practice, it gets faster and faster. Yeah.
And for my own life, what I've seen to be true for myself and even for my kids, you have access to different resources based on those states.
Yeah.
When I can see red and there's steam coming out of my ears, I don't have access in that moment to
Right.
my love and my compassion and
Yeah.
my playfulness. That's not the
Yeah.
time when you get playfulness from me,
That's
right?
right. It would be phony
It would
to
be
act.
phony, exactly.
Yeah.
But by the time I've gone through those stages and I get to making a plan, because I've taken the time to kind of recognize how I feel and turn the compassion inward,
Yep.
then have greater access to my creativity and my softness and a bit of more of my playfulness. And then it's
Yeah.
authentic rather than what it would have been like if I tried to be playful while angry.
Yeah, that's right. And I want to underline, so I said those four things, be mindful of what's happening, slow down to be mindful. Second, have compassion, recognize the suffering and have a warm-heartedness for it, a heartfeltness for it. And third, get on your own side. That
Mm.
kind of muscular stance for yourself. I want to emphasize that, especially for people, and I'm going to generalize here, it will not fit everyone, but especially for people who have had society put them under its thumb. And let's name examples: women, people of color, people who are come from different class backgrounds, right? Um, it's especially important when society has not been on your own side,
Yeah,
has not been on your side, to get on your side yourself. It's
yeah.
especially important to claim that for yourself. And so I want to really underline that. And in my experience, for every arrogant asshole who's like "Meh, world dominator, macho alpha kind of character, yeah, there are some of those people who need to not be on their own side so much and get on the side of other people. But for a lot of people, this issue of getting on your own side, being for yourself, is actually really central. It's really fundamental to claim the right to be on your own side.
You know what I like about that? And I think you're absolutely right. When you look at the different groups that are not used to having people stand up for them.
Yeah.
But, and again, it's a generalization, but I've seen it a lot with mothers. Mothers will fight
Mothers,
to death
what a
for their
group.
kids.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like you come at our kids and the lioness she just emerges, right? Claws out, but not so much for ourselves.
Yes,
And
exactly.
so that's definitely, I can see that that's something that we have to practice and cultivate so that we can stand up for ourselves with the same sort of fervor as we would for our children.
Beautiful. So true. And for me as a man, I come, as a father, I totally endorse that. That's why my book, Mother Nurture, was really about that because, I partly because I'm a guy, I was just stunned by what women deal with and what mothers do. And I just thought, this is crazy. They need more support and respect, not just when they're pregnant.
Amen.
You know, or for a few months after the baby is born, but for the whole 20 or 30 years afterward. It's so important because they deserve it morally, and also it's enlightened self-interest for everyone, including men and fathers and society in general, to support mothers because it's the best way to support the next generation. And
Mm.
it's also a very important way to have a healthy society. So, yeah,
We You talked about being able to shorten the distance from feeling the discomfort of whatever is brought on the
yeah,
plane,
yeah.
to when you're back to feeling a bit of safety and a bit of like I'm home in making your plan. I had an interesting debate with a friend today. We were talking about resilience. Shows you how geeky I am on what I'm debating about. But the debate was, is resilience simply the ability to keep going in the face of a challenge? Or is it more than that? And is it about how you keep going? Is it about the fact that you keep going, but you find the path back to that joy, that safety, as opposed to keep going and you're totally stressed out, but you're going anyway?
Oh, I appreciate you drawing that distinction. I mean, yes, to be able to survive the worst day of our life takes resilience, okay? But what about thriving every day of your life in the face of what is in the days of most people's lives? Challenges, mistreatment, obstructions, physical pain, health issues, deep worry about others. Um, these are challenges that we have to face. And resilience, indeed, is the psychological quality inside us, supported by physical factors in the body and also supported by external factors that help people be more resilient. But that said, resilience is an individual attribute. It's the attribute of individuals. It's a personal attribute. And so our resilience, which is built inside us from multiple strengths of different kinds that come together, like strengths we've named already: mindfulness, compassion, self compassion, grit, getting on your own side, the capacity to make a plan, the capacity to think clearly, even when you're really, really mad or really scared or really sad or really hurt, right? That's what helps us become resilient. And as we are resilient, we are able to preserve a core of well being.
Mm.
Around the edges, we could feel frazzled, rattled, pressured, but in the core of our being, in our inner temple, we protect a sanctuary of well being, right? Because if we're able to survive and cope while feeling nothing but terrible inside, that's not true resilience. That's not true resilience. True resilience protects that innermost core of well being, in part because that core of well being fosters resilience, right? If you feel miserable inside and all you are is angry and miserable, that will undermine your long term resilience. Maybe it will help you get through a week or a month or a year, but it will wear you down to feel so angry and so miserable inside and will make you less resilient over time, including through hormonal and neurological pathways and mechanisms. That's why happiness broadly, true happiness, underlying sense of meaning and value and purpose in your own life, that fosters resilience. And much research has shown that.
All right. You've helped us solve an argument.
Love is one of the main things that make people resilient.
Mm.
You know, when I think about what mothers, as a generalization, have to deal with, there's no way they could deal with the stresses of motherhood without love. And love, you know, their love helps them be resilient. It doesn't justify the mistreatment of mothers to say, oh, you're so loving, we can mistreat you and it's okay. No, but it just points to the power of love broadly to make us stronger and tougher. Isn't that
Um,
interesting?
That's beautiful. And it
The
brings me back
softest emotion makes us
to
tougher.
the stronger. Yeah.
Yeah,